Hello, everybody. It is Starrapter here, and I'm back for another episode of Outer Rim Transmission. This is episode number 7, and I'm joined today by my good friend Milton Webber for our topic today, which is the current state of Star Wars. First off, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on the show. Again, it's been a long time coming. I'm doing well here in Pennsylvania. I hope your family's safe and healthy over there in Jersey.
Oh yeah, we're all doing really well here. New Jersey is definitely one of the hot spots at first, but we're definitely coming down off of that. We still have a lot of restrictions here, but
Right,
at least we're able to get out, go to the beach, go most places, at least have outdoor dining, stuff like that. So there's a little bit of normalcy that at least is around, and luckily it's summertime. But yeah, that's the main important thing is that we're doing fine here. So
absolutely.
I've been a friend of yours for a while. Ever since
Yes.
I jumped into YouTube years ago. You were one of the
Yeah.
first people I contacted. So that
Right.
was a lot of fun, and you're very passionate about Star Wars as well. So I had to make sure I got you on here at some point sooner rather than later. So it's awesome
Right.
that we're actually speaking face to face, via Skype. Maybe one day we'll
Right.
meet at a convention or something, but this is why I did this because during quarantine it's always nice to have face to face conversations with people, even if we're still miles and miles away.
Oh, absolutely, man. Like I said, this is something that we've been wanting to do for a while. And like I said, when I first started, like you did, um, I just had a small little channel. I just wanted to get my voice out there. But to see where your channel has grown till now is amazing. I don't do it much because of me working full time, but to see where you're at is amazing. And I'm glad that you're getting the success because you deserve it, Chris. So you're awesome, bro. Congratulations on all the success.
Oh man, I really really appreciate that. Like this is my little hobby, right?
Yeah.
I try to do what I can, and I just love to talk about anything that comes to my mind. If I try to talk about the comics one day, or talk about a movie that I like, I just like to do it because it's just a way for me to express myself. And not every time there's going to be somebody listening that's nearby, especially in today's world. So now I feel like YouTube is like especially important to just get things off your chest.
Yes.
Yeah, so today we're talking about all things that are going around in Star Wars right now. We are in a very interesting spot. All the movies have released. There's lots of stuff on the horizon still, especially with streaming. But before we get into what is currently happening, I do want to talk a little bit, go back in the past a little bit, and kind of bring everybody up to speed on like what got us here. So for those of you that aren't aware, Disney bought out Lucasfilm in 2012. The first
Right.
thing they put out was a Clone Wars Lost Seasons, which was season 6. That was put out on Netflix. And that actually got me energized with Star Wars, I'll be honest with you. That kind of got me into Clone Wars really for the first time. I mean, I say that for the first time, but I tried to watch it before and it just didn't really resonate with me a whole lot where I was in life at the time. I was almost like kind of growing out of Star Wars in a sense. I just wasn't into it that much at that point. But the Clone Wars, I binged it on Netflix, which was awesome. And
Yep.
yeah, so tell us a little bit about kind of like your where you were when Disney bought out Lucasfilm back then.
Yeah, I think just like everyone else, I would say two things. One, just a little shocked and surprised because it was leaving George Lucas, and we all know he's the father and the creator of Star Wars. So a little shocked by that.
Mm-hmm.
But after seeing him speak with Kathleen Kennedy, I believe Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger might have did that YouTube video talking about
Yep.
the future of it. After seeing them do that, I'm thinking, okay, it's Disney. They're great for the property. They're great for expanding the brand. They're going to, and they said they're going to take care of the product. So my confidence was high because it's Kathleen Kennedy and Disney. Kathleen Kennedy is one of the greatest producers, probably the greatest producer of film of the last 30 years. I mean, she's been behind what, Spielberg. She worked with Lucas. I'm sure she worked with
Mm-hmm.
other great directors. So to have someone like that to take the ship into Disney, I felt high, just like everyone else did.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
seriously. It was exciting because it's something new, a new direction. At that point, it was like, okay, George Lucas told the story he wanted to tell. Let's give
Yes.
these other guys a shot. Let's see what everybody else has because he had the reins on the franchise for so long, obviously, being the creator and all. So after Clone Wars, that is when Star Wars Rebels came out later that same year in 2014. And that really got me involved with the Star Wars series for the first time from the get go. Like I said, Clone Wars wasn't really something I latched onto right away, especially not having actually seen the movie in a theater. That
Right,
one I
right, right.
definitely skipped, as most people probably did, I would assume.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I did end up going to really get involved with Rebels because it started with the books and they had the Rebels, a New Dawn book that came out. So I was all into it, and that's where my fandom, I think, really got into the play because at that point, I think, yeah, at that point we knew The Force Awakens was coming out. So I was like, all
Yep.
right, we're leading up to The Force Awakens. How
Yeah,
were your feelings on all that with Rebels and
I
for?
honestly, Chris, I thought when we got the Clone Wars lost missions or lost episodes, first of all, that's some of the greatest storytelling that I remember seeing in any type of animation or just storytelling in general. And then we get Rebels. Now, I'll be honest with you, I actually enjoyed Rebels. I really did. Probably the first, was there 5 seasons total, I believe?
There
Five
was
seasons
four,
total.
four seasons.
Four? Okay, four, four, four. So the first three and a half, I really enjoyed. The last one kind of had me, but you know what? It is what it is. But when we got the announcement of The Force Awakens, my thought was the title was awesome. Then it's J.J. Abrams being the director. I'm thinking, oh, J.J.'s known for bringing back properties. Like, look at Mission Impossible 3. That brought that
Oh,
property back.
yeah.
Look at the first Star Trek that he did, the reboot or the new edition of it.
Mm-hmm.
That brought that property back. So my thought as a fan was, okay, J.J. Abrams, Star Wars, we all know he's a huge fan. We all know he is a nerd like us. He's going to take care of the property. Let's get it. And I love that Star Trek and I loved that Mission Impossible 3. I think we can't lose. So I felt good about it, man. I really did. I was on that train just like everyone else when we got that announcement.
Yeah, and it just kept coming up from that
Yes.
point, right? Like you started to get the trickling of things like the teaser trailer, and the teaser
Yup.
trailer was like the
Oh,
biggest trailer ever. I remember exactly where I was when I
yup, same
see
here.
that. I was like at work at the time, and people
Yeah.
kept bugging me about it. I'm like, guys, I'm not gonna watch this thing until I see it on a proper TV. I'm not gonna watch this thing
Yes.
on my little itty bitty smartphone at the time. So don't spoil the trailer. Essentially, what I was telling people during
I
work.
was at my apartment at the time, and I remember like because I know the announcement was they dropped bombs about it coming, and when around Thanksgiving time, I believe,
Yep,
when they dropped that on us,
that
and I
is.
remember going upstairs to my room, put that on like my computer screen, but
Yep.
linked it to my TV because I had to see it big, and I was like, oh, when Finn's head pops up, and then the cross guard saber, I was like, this movie's gonna be the best thing ever. Everybody was all about that cross guard saber,
Oh
like
yeah.
because it was different. We've never seen that before in Star Wars,
No,
so it
I
was like,
was.
okay, this movie's gonna be great.
Yeah, that was actually, now that I'm remembering it right now, that was the first time I got involved physically in the fandom is to do with the Force Awakens trailer. At
Yeah,
the time, there was a podcast, and this is really when I first learned about podcasts back in 2015, or it might have been 2014. David Gramillion, he had a podcast called something Geek. Get your geek on. That's.
yeah,
Do you
I
remember
think I
that
remember
one?
hearing something about that. I do remember that I probably used to pass through it in like my other like podcasts or stuff on the internet.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he had a call-in show for the teaser trailer. And I
Hmm.
remember calling in and like I remember for whatever reason being nervous just to call in on just some random
Yeah.
fans like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
podcast and I was like, "Oh, I can't stutter. Oh man, this is like a really
Right.
big deal." But
It was just like that for Rebel Force Radio.
oh, really? You
They had
called
that
into them?
because Rebel Force Radio would have people call in, and I used to listen to the live show when they did they would just do a show just about the teaser trailer, just like what
Mhm.
you're talking about, and it's just like it was only about a minute or two, maybe a minute and 10 seconds. And I mean, I watched that religiously. I was like, man, that's again, Chris, what a time in Star Wars at that time for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. So fast forward, we get the Force Awakens. It like breaks every
all the
record
records.
conceivable. It was amazing. I was in a movie theater for like 18 hours watching the entire saga
Oh,
in
you
this
did that? See, I
epic
didn't do that. I don't
marathon.
think I would have lasted that long. I'd have been probably ultra tired by the end, but you know.
Yeah, it was a journey, and I knew they had one for the entire 9 films. I'm like, sorry, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
but it was an experience. There was people like literally sleeping, snoring during like Revenge of the Sith, because it was like starts at 1 a.m. and it went all the way
Yeah.
to like 7 p.m.
Oh,
when Force Awakens started on the screen. So it was like constantly through the night. People had blankets, everything. It was just insane. But
so, Chris, can I ask you a question, man?
yeah.
So, tell me about, whenever you first saw The Force Awakens, you see the movie. What are your thoughts during it? What are your thoughts after the movie?
Oh, when I was watching the movie, I had moments of like I feel like a kid again.
Yeah.
I really just lost myself in the story. As we all know, it's just such a good, quick, snappy story that just really does a lot with nostalgia while pushing brand new characters and
Right.
really cool situations. And it really just it does a lot. My initial reaction was, man, this is like one of my favorite Star Wars movies off the get go. I remember seeing Han Solo get killed, and that to me was just heartbreaking. Like
Mhm.
I was like, oh God, this is one of my favorite characters of any cinema is killed. Like that
Yeah.
was hard to get through. But then seeing the ending with Luke Skywalker and being on that like literal
Loved it.
cliffhanger helicopter shot and it just
Yeah.
irises out. I'm like, oh, you're telling me I gotta wait 2 years for the for the
Yeah.
continuation of this movie? Like, oh my gosh. So
Yeah.
that was something. What about you?
Um, I will say the first time I saw it, I think, well, now I have more appreciation for the movie now, but when I first saw it, I was like, okay, this is a good start. This is a good start to the new trilogy. The first 30 minutes caught me. Like the first 30 minutes of that film had me hooked because you see Poe talking to Lars and Santeca,
Yeah.
and then that sets up the whole Jakku village attack. Sorry, there's gonna be spoilers in this one most likely. So then when he does the blaster bolt to stop that blaster bolt, Kylo Ren, I was like, oh my god, we've never seen that, and it
Yep.
hovered. And I feel like
Yep.
from that point on, I was locked in. Then as the movie progressed, it was up and down because of the pacing, which
Mhm.
again, that's how films are. I
Yep.
really
Yep.
enjoyed the last third of the film. I really enjoyed how they attacked Star Killer Base. I really enjoyed how we got that shot of Luke Skywalker. That Luke Skywalker shot was amazing. The
Mm.
John Williams music to that build up, I believe it's
Oh.
called Jedi
Yeah, I
Steps.
love that track. It's
Yeah,
so good.
how you built up to Ray walking up that temple and seeing him turn, and I was like, oh my god, that's Luke Skywalker. We haven't seen him in what
Yeah.
30 years? Like
Yeah.
that's amazing. And at that point, I'm like, what's going to happen next? What? Give it to me now. But initially, I thought the movie was good. As I've gotten on to watch it more and more, it's actually a really excellent film.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
clearly, Star Wars was trying to bring back the nostalgia, and I understand why they did that. I think a lot of people weren't happy about that, but a lot of happy fans too were like, "This is my Star Wars," and I loved it. I thought the movie was really good. I really can't complain about that movie that much. So I really liked it.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Out of all the, and we're gonna get into like briefly each movie pretty much,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's definitely up there with with the five. It's gonna be high on my list. So and
yeah,
then
sure.
we go right into Rogue One the next year. It's like, man, as Star Wars fans, how do you feel that we were getting a movie every single year after we hadn't had one in several years, and especially
Yeah,
with the 3 years in between the usual release of movies?
that's a really good question, and this is how I'm going to answer it. I look at it as how Marvel does their films. They usually give us one every year now, or for the most part, until they do their little hiatus. Um, I was fine with it because I think we had enough time in between Revenge of the Sith, which was '05, and then Force Awakens of a 10-year gap. Yeah, we got Clone Wars, the animated series. Then we got the Clone Wars Cartoon Network one as well. But we are still craving the films. We
Mm-hmm.
all know the legend material of Luke Skywalker and the Skywalker family. So we all were wondering what would be that next trilogy of films. And as they released the regular series and the originally was an anthology they called it at first,
Yeah,
they
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was fine with it because I don't get Star Wars fatigue. I'll be honest with you. I want
Seriously.
the time. Like I hear that phrase all the time. I don't believe it's actually true, but you can give me 10 Star Wars in a row every for the next 10 years, I'm watching them. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
It's
it's a kind of a ridiculous argument because it's
yeah,
like you have a different filmmaker that is making pretty much each one.
absolutely.
They're bringing their own creative perspective on Star Wars, right? You have many creators already that have dipped their toes in everything. You can change it up to genres. You can do a lot of things that make it feel different than a lot of Star Wars. And definitely the next one that feels a little different is Rogue One. I mean, it's got that nostalgia feel, but it's war like we had never seen it in Star Wars before.
Yes.
And with Rogue One, it really hit home to me like, wow, this is
Yep.
one of my favorite Star Wars movies because it is giving me like those epic space battles that I
Hmm.
always liked while really giving us a different look at the rebellion that we've never even seen, or none of us probably ever really anticipated them being like more like gray rather than like the
Yeah.
white heroes. Like they're doing things out there with Cassie and Endor that are not exactly what we'd ever expect the good guys to be, just killing people right off the bat. And
Right.
seeing Vader, of course, was just a huge moment. And just cool villains like Krennic, who's not a force powered user,
Yep.
but he's got so much presence, and you could tell the infighting between the Empire. Like it just did so much for the original trilogy, which again, a lot of people would be like, I'm tired of original trilogy, but then you throw Rogue One in it, and I didn't hear many people
Yeah.
complaining about that anymore.
That movie, I felt honestly, out of all the new ones, that's my favorite one
Yep.
because, like you said, the nostalgia component, okay, it's there for me. I see a lot of similar stuff from the original trilogy and the prequels. I mean, I still felt that's a great balance. Then, as the movie progresses,
Mm-hmm.
it starts becoming more and more original trilogy like feeling, and I felt that movie was different. It was gritty. It's a story that needed to be told.
Yep.
It
Yep.
needed to be told because again, the first sentence we get, I believe, in New Hope is the rebellion just won their first battle or something to that extent. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, what was that look like? And when we got that, I'm like, this makes sense. The tie-in transition was seamless at that last scene with Leia.
Oh, that
I
was
thought
so
Gareth
good.
Edwards, Disney did a really good job. Again, that film does no wrong in my book. I watch it anytime it's on TV. I have it on Blu-ray. I have it on Disney Plus. I don't care. It's that good of a movie. But yeah, I was excited, Chris. So as we're progressing on, my hype at this point with Disney was it's getting better. It's getting better. And then as we progress, go ahead.
Yeah, so here we get into the fun stuff here with the Last Jedi, and yeah, well let's talk about, let's switch it up. Let's hear what you have to say about this one first.
I'm gonna try to really do good about this one. Um, when I okay, the trailers were off the hook. By far, those Last Jedi trailers, and people may disagree with me on this, I thought those trailers were excellently cut, edited. It got me feeling good. I remember being with my friend James, one of my best friends in life. I said, "Oh my God, Ryan Johnson's directing this movie. You've seen him direct Brick. You've seen him do Looper. You've
Yep.
seen him do Breaking Bad. If he
Mm-hmm.
can tell stories like that in Star Wars and give me some good action, I'm all in." Because my thoughts was he's going to make Luke Skywalker do some excellent stuff. He's going to make Kylo Ren more fleshed out, make Rey more fleshed out, and Poe and Finn, all those guys. Then I get to the movie. I'll be honest with you, I do not like that film. I know people do like that film, and that's fine. And I'm okay with Star Wars taking risks. I want to make that very clear.
Okay.
I want Star Wars and Disney to take risks with these films because you have to progress the genre, okay? But at the same time, I felt Ryan Johnson didn't quite understand what Star Wars was, and he tried to change it, but before he understood what Star Wars was and is and what it's supposed to be. So that's where I feel I'm like, oh, he missed the ball on this one. And I've been very critical of that film. I really do not like that film. I have a hard time sitting through it. I will watch it, but I do struggle watching that film because I feel like the storytelling, it wasn't crisp. I felt that it was a slow car chase in space.
That
Like
makes
no
sense.
one liked Canto Bite. I don't care what anyone tells me. Nobody liked that Canto Bite scene. I really actually enjoyed though the Kylo Ren Luke Skywalker confrontation.
Oh yeah.
I, I wish there would have been a saber duel for sure, but looking back on it, we know Luke Skywalker was consistent with that character at that time in that film. So with him attacking Kylo wouldn't have made sense.
Mm, mm,
So
mm.
I understand why Ryan Johnson kept him consistent at that point, which made sense to me. People were upset about that, but I understood that's the character that we have. I know we've seen a Mark Hamill interviews and how he felt about that film. I just felt that Last Jedi let fans down, and that's when the balance of fandom shook for sure,
Oh yeah.
and it just went here at that point.
Yeah. Great way of expressing your points there. No, you did it in a good way. That is,
Yeah,
I wish that more people in the fandom, and we'll get more into this in the
right.
video, they could, show their expression without, throwing anybody under the truck or anything
Absolutely,
like that, right? There's a
absolutely.
way
I
to
mean,
be critical and not
yeah,
insult anybody.
yeah. You have to give Ryan Johnson like some credit. I mean, let's be real here, Chris. You and I cannot direct a $250 million film like Disney has you doing for Star Wars. For him to take the pressure of the second film that we
Yeah.
all can associate with The Empire Strikes Back, we all thought that would be that film. Even looking at Revenge of the Sith, we all thought The Last Jedi would be those two types of films. Yes and no, it was, but he just didn't. He missed the mark on that, in my opinion. But at the same time, you have to give the man credit for trying something different.
That's
So
that's the biggest thing I got out of that movie is wow, there's so many cool directions in this movie with
yeah,
the editing, with the holdo maneuver, like that huge
look great.
explosion where there's
Ooh,
so much cool stuff there, like the whole beginning with the battle and you see Paige's sister and like the way that it just like
mhm,
turns black and then like you see
right.
stuff in Star Wars that is so stylish and like whoa, that looks really cool. But yeah, when you get into some of the characters, I'll never forget the night I seen the movie. I went home and I like literally lost sleep on the movie because I was
Yeah,
like, "You killed my favorite character. You
yeah.
killed Luke Skywalker." And I know it's like such an entitled thing to say. Like it's the creator's story, so like you
But you
got to
know what though?
respect
I
that
understand
too.
why you
But
feel that way, Chris. I get it. Like, trust me, we all grew up loving Luke Skywalker was. I'm gonna use a sports term here. Luke Skywalker was our Michael Jordan growing up, okay, or our Kobe Bryant or our LeBron. Like, he's a guy we all wanted to live up to and be like if we were some type of character in a film. And for the way they wrote him, and then how they used him as the film went on, yes, I had a problem with it, and I can get why you would be upset about that or somewhat disappointed, or why other fans would be. Then I can see how fans would say, you know what, though, we needed to start phasing him out and phasing out Han Solo. I
mm-hmm,
get it.
mm-hmm.
I understand from both perspectives.
Yeah, and there's like I said, lots of cool things about the movie. I think the Praetorian fight with Kylo and Rey teaming up was something I never knew I needed, and that
Yeah,
sparked a lot of stuff with these Reylos. That everybody was like, "I want this to
yeah,
happen." And I'll be honest, as we talk about the rise of Skywalker in a little bit here, I will come back a little bit on some of the stuff about the Last Jedi because I think it definitely enhances it. But that was my main thing is yeah, I was a little bit disappointed at the time. It was like, yeah, this is my least favorite Star Wars movie. It's like just in the middle kind of thing right there. So
yeah, yeah,
so after that, we get another standalone film, and this was Solo: A Star Wars Story. And people, the outlook was very wishy-washy, like, oh, do we really need a Han Solo movie? More importantly, do we need to recast Harrison Ford? I
mm,
don't think anybody could ever replicate what Harrison Ford does with his performance. But hey, they've done something with Obi-Wan Kenobi and with Sir Alec Guinness with
mm,
Ewan McGregor in the prequel. So maybe they can capture that essence and have this movie here. So yeah, my experience with watching Solo was it was just that kind of fun Star Wars movie that felt more Star Wars in my opinion than
yeah,
almost any other movies that Disney put out. I think that it just captured what Han Solo is about. It really I think enhances character, especially with characters like Beckett and with Kira,
right,
and dealing with one of my favorite things in Star Wars, which is the underworld. I just love everything about the underworld.
yeah.
Always have the criminal syndicates. That thing was awesome. Seeing how he got the Falcon, and also seeing not Billy D. Williams, Donald Glover take on Billy D. Williams' performance as Lando was just legendary. And I came out of this movie
Absolutely.
thinking this is just a good Star Wars movie, and I wish it would have made more money.
Yes, same, Chris. Everything you said, I agree with. I legit was like, this isn't a bad film. What's all like the negativity about with this film? I think people were just. Okay, here's my question to you. Do you think with how the Last Jedi played out, then 6 months later, I believe we got the Han Solo film. Do you think that was the reason why it didn't do well in theaters, or people were still not feeling good about the Last Jedi, so they kind of made that be effective with Solo?
Oh yeah, this is a tough one because there's also a couple other factors in there too.
Yeah.
Because it was a very busy time, right? You had Avengers Infinity War, arguably the biggest
Yeah,
Marvel movie ever, come out like 3 weeks or something
I
before that.
forgot about that.
And then
Yeah,
you
that's true.
had Deadpool coming out with the sequel like a week before that. So I
Yeah.
think it could be a combination, I think, because
Okay.
I I did have an acquaintance that was telling me like, oh, they'll never see Solo now because they're just so ticked off of what Disney did with Last Jedi. So
Yeah.
there's definitely those people out there, whether or not they did it did a huge impact on the
Right.
box office. But I did hear from like people personally that they're like, yeah, I'm gonna get this
Yeah.
one on Blu-ray. So
Yeah, I heard that too. And like I said, I mean, to get back to the original question, I really thought the movie was well. I thought it was well done. I mean, I'm sure there were some things about it that could have been different, but I love the visuals. I love the acting was really, really good. The
yeah,
cinematography looked awesome. Like, and this movie takes what 10 years before A New Hope or something to that
yep,
extent, or something like that. The way it looked good, it looked like a Star Wars gritty, like getting to the original trilogy. Even like I thought Alden Ehrenreich did really, really good playing
yeah,
Solo. And then also too with the direction of going from Chris Lord and Phil Miller, I believe, were the original directors,
uh huh,
into Ron Howard. I mean, again, I thought the film was well done for what they had to deal with. Again, it's unfortunate that it suffered the way it did financially, but I'm hoping now, and I'm sure we'll get to the future with potentially of a show being on Disney Plus.
yeah.
But we'll
Yeah, that it's such a shame because there were reports at the time that Alden Ehrenreich had signed a contract for at least 3 films or
right,
appearances of that nature. And yeah, like you said, there's all these rumors and reports that we might get a Solo 2. There's a hashtag that's trending all the time called "Make Solo 2 happen." So
happened. Yep, I seen that.
the creators there are acknowledging that they're like, yeah, we get it, guys. We would love to do like even Alden Ehrenreich is like, yeah, I would pretty much do one if they asked me to. So
Yeah,
it's just like for some of these actors, it's almost like, hey, does money talks kind of like that for a
absolutely.
lot of these actors to get involved, their creators and
Absolutely.
whatnot. They introduced Darth Maul, like people were just like
Ugh.
their minds were blown because it's like half the people that were in the theater were just like, huh, how is he even
How's he alive?
alive?
Yep.
He's cut in half. Oh, you gotta watch the Clone Wars. You gotta watch the Clone Wars. So
Yeah,
that was
my
definitely
best
something.
friend's dad was like that. He's like Milton. He's like I thought Darth Maul was dead. I'm like, nope. Go back and watch Clone Wars. And actually had my dad, Chris. I had my dad who's 55 years old. Now this guy got me into Star Wars when I was a kid. When I first moved here up to
Nice.
Pennsylvania, he's the one that got me into Star Wars. We had the black and gold special edition
I have
box.
those as well right over
Yeah.
there.
So we had those. But he was like Milton's like, how is he alive? He saw Solo. I'm like, Dad, let's go watch Clone Wars. And we watched the Dathomir ones
Oh,
whenever because Savage went to go get him.
yep.
He didn't quite understand it, but he actually went once he started watching. He's like, okay, I see what they try to do, but he's more like sick to the films. So
Well, that's one better than my family because I'm the one that got me involved with Star Wars, and
yeah,
I'm ushering at least my mom into Star Wars like more. I bring her to the movies every time they come out, but no, that's definitely good to hear. And well, this brings us to our last film. Right? Yeah, this is the last one, The Rise of
yeah, there's
Skywalker. This
Skywalker.
is the ending of the saga. I was at Star Wars Celebration. Like it was absolute fever pitch with everybody seeing the trailer. People were going nuts. The Emperor was coming back. How is that happening? So much hype for this movie, so much built upon this movie after years. Like, no, this is not just the ending of a trilogy, which is big enough
Mm-hmm.
deal right there. No, this is putting a cap on these stories that we've experienced for the last 40 years. So, initial reactions with Rise of Skywalker.
I actually watched that trailer. They had the live stream on the Disney Plus, or excuse me, the Disney or the Star Wars
Yep.
Celebration, which I will say those Star Wars celebrations have gotten better and better and better. So I want to throw that out there. They're really awesome to watch. But when I watched
Yeah.
that trailer, really good trailer. Then the Emperor laughs, and I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, how is he back?
Yeah.
And like I'm thinking, and then the title pops up, Rise of Skywalker, which I was hearing about that before. I was
Oh.
like, okay, it's a good title. I'm like, all right, but then it's like, how did Palpatine come back? Like, then I start thinking EU, like, what are they doing in EU books? I know there was cloning and Sith shifting bodies and that type of stuff. I'm like, okay, where are they going with this? But I was hyped, but I was also a little cautious too because my disappointment with the Last Jedi. So I was like, okay, let me see how the film comes out and does well, and then I'll make my judgment. because I was hurt a little bit by the Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the trailers are really good. I really enjoyed all of them.
Yeah, so going into it, like I was hyped. Obviously, like how are they gonna end this? There's so many loose ends to
Right?
pick up. You know what's going on with Kylo Ren? He's a supreme leader. You got characters like Rey, Finn, and Poe that are trying to put together a resistance after Last Jedi. They were just left on the Falcon, so they jump into it. And the crawl was something that alerted me a little bit already because it's like they just tell how the Emperor is already alive
Yeah.
in exposition. And I'm like, oh,
See,
okay.
that was concerning to me because I'm thinking, wait a minute, we don't get this in a scene or like I think then they put it on a video game. Um, what's the one that everyone plays now? Oh my goodness, they put the little speech that he does in some type of video game. And
Oh,
I'm
in
like,
Fortnite.
Fortnite, yeah. I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
even play that. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm thinking like, how are we getting this? This when it says the dead speaks,
Yeah.
that's something we should see in a film.
Yeah.
Okay, we should see that. It's the Emperor. Like, I'm sorry, I felt as Star Wars fans, I don't want to. I know we're entitled as fans. I know we are, but at the same
Yeah.
time, we deserve that scene in the movies. Don't care what anyone tells me because that's Palpatine. We got to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like, and then the movie started. I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like Kylo Ren, he's just slaughtering these guys.
Oh,
He's in his
Mustafar.
TIE fighter. He is going super fast through this nebula that's like very dangerous. He's
Yep.
going to a Sith temple, which we haven't really seen in Star Wars in live action. That
Yep.
was that was freaking nuts. And then
I loved
like
Exegol. Exegol was a cool planet.
yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
definitely like it might be my favorite planet out of all the new films. To be honest with you, it's just so cool and has so much mystery because it's tied to the Sith. And then it's like he's repeating lines from Revenge of the Sith, right? A path to whatever, a natural,
Yeah, like
whatever that line. And then
it's
it's
so
just
great.
like he looked creepy, but I was like, oh man, they needed to explain how he died. Like that bothered me the whole movie. I was like,
Yeah,
how is he alive after Vader killed him? Like, come on.
yeah, and this is where again I get a little upset because I know I've listened to the audiobook and I mean I thought the book was actually really well done for the most
Yeah,
part. It's just disappointing that we did not get that in the movie. Like I
yeah.
think those types of scenes, I would have had no issue, Chris, and jump in here if you like, buddy. Would have been upset if they made that a 3.5 hour film to explain all that?
No.
Because here's the thing, it's the last movie of
Yeah,
the Skywalker trilogy. Just like they did Avengers for 3 hours, I'd have been fine with them doing a
exactly.
3.5 hour film to tell me the last final chapter. And I'd have sat to that theater happy, no
the
problems.
the precedent had already been set with Lord of the
Yes.
Rings, with a movie that came out
Avengers.
from the same studio
Yep.
like a year earlier, or not even a year earlier, like a couple months earlier with Endgame.
What's
So it's like
earlier?
not like
Yeah.
people won't sit through the film for 3 hours.
Right? And it's Star Wars, so you know people want to get their butts in a seat and they're going to take their time to watch it and tell their kids not to pee themselves while they're in the theater. You know, so like I felt that movie should have been at least 3.5 hours long because I needed I needed more content and context behind how Emperor came back, where we're taking this story with these characters, and how it's going to tie into the future. Again, without the Skywalker saga, but at least say this is what the direction could look like at the end of Star Wars and branch off to.
Yeah, yeah,
But I thought the movie was good. I mean, it wasn't a terrible film at all. Actually enjoy watching it. It's fast, the fast-paced movie. I love the light speed skipping. Awesome. I love like the banter between between Finn and Poe. You get to see that bromance. I love that how that was
yeah.
closed. That's really there. That goes back to the first nod of how they were strangers, they needed each other. Now they're bros. Like that was awesome. Kylo Ren, he's more confident in this film. He knows what he wants. Clearly, at the end, he makes the turn, which we all expected. As for Rey, I felt I really felt like seeing her backstory of where she come from was important. She's still not my favorite character. I think they made her ultra powerful throughout this trilogy. And I don't know if you noticed this, Chris. She never lost a battle in this trilogy. Just to let you know, she never lost a saber duel that I remember. She never really got hurt. So it's just like, man, I felt she just was too OP throughout this trilogy. That's why I didn't really connect with her because with Luke and with Anakin, even Han Solo and Leia, they went through stuff throughout those trilogies. Like
Yeah,
Obi-Wan lost people. He nearly killed his best friend. You know,
Hmm.
Padme lost her life. Anakin lost his family, his limb, his body, his whole way of life. Luke lost his temple, his arm, didn't know who his parents were. Like, to me, I felt Rey, yes, she didn't know who her parents were, but really didn't lose much throughout this trilogy, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, you bring up a really good point because that's obviously something that a lot of people talk and argue about online is this whole thing about her being very powerful.
Yep.
I think J.J. Abrams tries to explain it as best he could. Like, look, like she's the lineage of one of the most powerful Sith Lords of all time. Like
Right.
that can kind of be an explanation in a certain degree about how she is so powerful. And speaking of that, what did you react to about that? I personally liked it. I thought that was it made sense.
I was okay with it. I thought that it made sense to me because it's like, well, she doesn't come from any of the original trilogy characters like the final or the first three. So no Luke, no Leia, no Han. As for Palpatine and how they addressed it, it made sense to me. I just wish they would have gave us more in depth about what led him to do that. Like in the book they talk about it, but
They
give it
do,
more.
yeah.
I was fine with it. That's when it made sense. Okay, this is why she's all powerful because she's shooting lightning out of her hand. Okay, that's Palpatine level. Like I get it. I still think they could have balanced her out a little bit more, made her a little more vulnerable when it comes to being physically hurt. Really kind of like with Indiana Jones, like Indiana Jones. He's always in some danger. Who'll get out of it, but there are stakes.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. And that's the thing with the way the movie left off. It almost felt like for me like an advertisement for like a Disney Plus series because
yeah,
they didn't give me everything I wanted for a conclusion. I feel like the conclusion was wrapped up just a little bit too quickly without enough finality because it's like,
I agree.
wait, this whole movie you have Finn running around trying to say I have something to tell you and it keeps getting cut off. Like I
Yeah,
feel like I was even confused. I was like, does he I don't know why I thought this at the time, but again, they could have gave us more concrete detail. I was like, does he know her identity? Like
yeah.
that's what
Well,
I was thinking.
because I thought he was gonna say, "Oh, I love you and I care about you and
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
you." But then I'm thinking, wait, wasn't he into Rose at one point or one time? In which they cut that out completely.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but like, yeah, like that Finn moment should have been told because it's Finn. He's one of the trilogy characters or the essential characters in this new trilogy. So you cannot ignore what he wanted to tell Rey and the audience. I felt that wasn't great storytelling. I think JJ missed the ball on that. But again I got to give credit to JJ. He walked into an impossible situation,
Mm-hmm.
and people need to understand this. He walked into an impossible situation with Carrie Fisher passing, God rest her
Yep.
soul. We all were saddened about that. And then also with Ryan Johnson, how he took the trilogy, where he was taking it, he had to pick those pieces up. Disney at that time was up and down. Our confidence in him wasn't great. So JJ had to try to get us back on board, and he did the best he could. Again, I'm giving a storyteller and a director some credit because that man tried his best, and he
Uh-huh.
started the trilogy off right. So
That is another thing we have to address, right? Is this sequel trilogy was not the smoothest operation here. You're going through
yeah,
many creators. Colin Trevorrow put out his own version of the script, which hell,
yeah.
I would have loved to see that. That's
Not gonna lie,
amazing.
I loved reading that. I was like, oh,
Coruscant and General Hux committing suicide. Like it was some
yeah.
really crazy, like progressive stuff in a Star Wars movie.
Well, how'd you feel about? I don't know. Do you remember in the one? I think it's in the Rise of Skywalker concept, or in Colin Trevorrow's. It might have been. Was it with the wolves that were in Coruscant? Did you read about
Oh,
that?
I didn't hear about that.
So if you have the Rise of Skywalker concept art, which I have it here,
Oh,
there's go in there. It talks about how Coruscant was abandoned, or was an abandoned planet somewhat at
huh.
times, and like big wolf creatures were like roaming the streets as like patrolling it. And I'm
Oh,
thinking, oh my god, like that'd have been cool to see. Because I know Kylo goes back to Coruscant to go to the temple for some reason to get some artifact. I believe that's in the concept art of the Rise of Skywalker.
oh,
Yeah,
wow. That
and I'm
that
thinking like, oh
sounds
my god,
so cool.
that'd have been amazing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
and I
so
mean, yeah, so going back to the movie that was, that we all seen, the good parts for me were, hey, I love seeing Finn, Rose, and Poe team up. Like for that first like quarter, first third of the movie, I feel
Yeah,
like their banter, their chemistry all around was great. It really gave me those original trilogy Leia, Han, and Luke vibes that they had
yep,
throughout their movies. So I was very happy to see that happen because up until that point, they were very separated throughout the trilogy. And in fact,
yeah.
that was the first time that Rey even knew about Poe. So that was awesome seeing them together. Another thing I love seeing is the diode between Kylo and Rey. I think that
Mhm.
JJ did a pretty good job. I keep seeing a lot of criticism about people saying that JJ didn't acknowledge Ryan Johnson's film a whole lot, but I think he did the big important parts okay because like they did the force projection or not the force Skype people call it. I forget the actual
Force,
name for
yeah,
it. They
yeah. Or
they they
force,
take it
force
one
Zoom
step
now too.
further.
Yeah, yeah.
They
No,
take
I
it one step further and they keep
he
branching
did.
off from there.
Well, with him for them to interact physically with the force projections or force Skypes, like that was something new, and he added on to Jay or to Ryan Johnson's creation. Again, something that we can't overlook. That's good stuff that we like to see in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so again, I'm giving JJ and Ryan their credit. They actually did push the envelope where we thought it was positive. Again, there were just some mishaps and some misses.
Yes.
I thought the interaction. I can agree with you. The interactions was great seeing those three characters finally together in the first 30 minutes of the film working together and seeing the banter and seeing that they're not always on the same page. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, I love the turn of Kylo Ren to Ben Solo. Like
yeah,
going to the light side with the help of his mother that he has been estranged from for so long, coming calling out to him in the Force, and then you see Han Solo in his memories, and it takes that for him to break the dark side, and then
right,
get stabbed by Rey, who then heals him, which is another new ability we haven't seen in
yeah,
a canon Star Wars story. That was just one of the highlights of the entire trilogy, if you ask me.
absolutely. I mean, I think the healing thing. I mean, we've seen it in video games, but never in the movie. So I was a little surprised, but not surprised to see it in a film. As for Han Solo, well, I didn't think he was going to be in the film. I didn't realize they got Harrison Ford to come back until I saw the film. That was good to see that connection. And here's the thing: you go back and watch the Last Jedi, that he actually kind of hints at it because he says you don't
Really?
even though you don't stop needing your parents even when they're not there. Do you remember that line? He's
Wait,
talking to
really?
yeah, he's talking to Ray, I believe during the second force projection with the no shirt on.
Oh,
He's like you don't stop needing your parents even though they're not there.
oh,
And it's like right there saying, whoa, oh my God, he just wanted his parents' attention. He always wanted his parents to feel like he was loved. You know,
yeah.
like people, when you hear those words, again, if whoever's watching this, you go back and watch that movie and hear that line, it makes sense to why Han Solo was a big reason why he broke through those bonds with the assistance of his mother giving herself to him.
Hmm.
So that's how I interpret it because of that line. Like that makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's
So
really interesting. I never thought about it that way.
yeah,
That's really cool.
it just goes to show that Kylo Ren really felt that he wasn't a priority or he felt that he wasn't enough. You know, like even Luke, I think Leia says at one point, like in The Force Awakens, I sent him away to Luke. I thought Luke can get him like straight away pretty much because Snoke was corrupting him. I can understand as a young boy, Kylo thinking, my parents don't want to help me. They don't want to, they don't love me. They don't need me around. Like they're always focusing on warmongering and politics. It's easy to be seduced by the dark side when someone gives you that attention
Uh-huh.
and puts that in your ear. It made total sense why his parents were that key reason why he went to the dark side and why he came back.
Yeah.
That's a great circle of
Oh,
balance. And
that's
again, that's just
amazing, man.
yeah, that's just me going off of the films, but also the Bloodline book with Leia.
Yeah.
Like she talks about the family passing out. Kylo found out how his grandfather was Darth Vader through a holocron recording or something in
Yeah,
a
uh-huh.
league, and it's like, okay, I see why this kid wants to go to the dark side
Yeah.
because
Like
no
he's
one
being
tells him
like,
anything.
yeah, no one
He
tells
doesn't
him
know his
anything.
lineage. Like,
His father's out doing smuggling stuff while his
yeah,
mother is just being so busy as a politician. It's like you don't, you understand how it could happen.
absolutely.
And it's
And
like the
for
fact that he's related to somebody that's one of the darkest characters in the entire galaxy, you can
right,
see how easy it is for him to snap. And I must say, like Kylo Ren, Adam Driver, I think that's one of the best performances, hands down, in all of Star Wars. Period. Like
Facts,
that
without
was
question.
one of my favorite things about this entire trilogy. Was just seeing the conflict in him, seeing the reverse conflict of the light calling to him, not the dark calling to him. I thought that was so really
Yeah,
just a nice way of showing us something different in Star Wars for a change.
absolutely. Adam Driver, in my eyes, is one of the greatest actors in Star Wars history. We have Sir Alec Guinness. We got who played Tarkin. Um, oh my goodness.
Oh no,
Uh,
forget it.
oh, I know them guys. Please correct me in the comments. I'm sorry, but you guys know who I'm talking about. You have James Earl
Peter
Jones, who
Cushing.
plays Vader. Peter Cushing, yes. Like you have all those great English actors and American actors. Adam Driver is up there when it comes to great character actors
Oh
in
yeah.
Star Wars. He's up there with them. So I
Yes.
mean, it was awesome. So yeah,
The one thing that bummed me out is the way the film ends. In a way, is almost just like Return of the Jedi. You have the dark character who turns light for just a little bit of time,
mm,
and then they die. I was really hoping that we would
yeah.
get some kind of like him living but having to deal with all the crimes that he did, and I
Oh,
think that would have
absolutely.
been like a really cool way to like have the new trilogy, like 10, 20 years later in the timeline. Where
Kind
is
of like
he?
him
Is he in
having
exile on a planet? I think that would be way more interesting than him dying. Although I do like the fact that he's able to like have the good in him to resurrect Rey. I thought that's
right.
also a really good way. So I wouldn't want to get rid of that either. But I still would have wished he would have stuck around just a little bit somehow.
Yeah, I agree. Kind of like have that scarlet letter of him and his sins and trying
Yeah.
to repent and like do well by that. I mean, that been again, that's a whole bunch of possibilities of character development of someone who obliterated planets. You know what I mean? And it's like you were responsible for that.
Mm-hmm.
You were responsible for killing your father, and people know that. And you have to live with that. But again, I'm fine with how it ended. It happens, but no, Chris, you make a great point.
Yeah, yeah. So there you have it. That was the rundown of the films, but we're not done yet. We did have another series that was in between there. We had Star Wars Resistance that came out with 2 seasons that told a pretty cool story about some anime inspired animation involving a New Republic guy that ends up becoming a Resistance cell, and there's crossover with Poe and Phasma and some other cool characters in Star Wars. Did you watch any of Star Wars Resistance?
Yeah, I watched like the first 4 or 5 episodes of the first season. I be honest with you, I didn't really enjoy that story
Okay.
that much. I didn't really like the animation. Actually, wasn't bad. I was so
Yeah.
used to still doing the. I mean, I love the Clone Wars and Rebels animation. I mean, that's something we were so used to. But I didn't really feel the story. I wasn't connecting with the story because I didn't really connect with the characters. That might have been my
Gotcha.
issue. So I
Yeah.
didn't really connect with the characters.
So the story was really skewed for kids.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's what it was on Disney Channel, and
Right.
you know, I think definitely once you got to that mid-season premiere of season one, they started going into things like the formation of the First Order on the platform and like how that First Order can take over a place, like with their lies and deceit and the way they make underhanded deals with local governments to like take them in as like protection and stuff like that. So I thought that for a kid show was like really good and well done. But the problem is with the Resistance is they have to hit that demographic constantly. So
Yeah.
you have things like the main character Cash tripping over things, getting his hand bit by like a little creature constantly, like just stuff like that that would kind of take you out of the experience. But then you would have those really good like plot moments that connected to like the Force Awakens, because then it does go into like him dealing with things with like Hosnian Prime and
Yeah.
that and getting destroyed, and then it goes into like that gap between Last Jedi and Return or Rise of Skywalker. So it does actually add some meat to the sequel trilogy, and it's a shame because like this series ended where obviously there could have been a season three, but for whatever reason they wanted to take it off the air. And it's like even this is what happened with Clone Wars. The show got nominated for an Emmy Award, and now it's
Right.
off the air. That's exactly what happened to Clone Wars. It happens every time. It's like we're gonna
I,
cancel
I
this, and then I don't know.
Well, I mean, let's be. I mean, I'm sure we're going to get into this. I'm sure you're going to phase this into that, Chris. But even with Clone Wars, that show should have never ended the way it did originally. I mean, not the current season, but before that, we those that's great storytelling. Like those Clone Wars, great storytelling, by far.
Mm-hmm. 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 And so you mentioned Bloodlines. I want to get into some of the literary stuff here. You mentioned Bloodlines. Have you read a lot of the other books as well?
Yeah, so I still need to finish. Oh, this is bad. I probably shouldn't even say this, but I need to finish Lost Stars.
Okay.
It's I brought an audio book. From what I've listened to, that's a really good book. And I remember like Christian Harloff like hyping
Yeah.
that thing up when it
Yeah.
first came out, and I was like, I'll give it a shot. So what I listened to, I like it a lot. I need to finish that. Love Bloodline. Bloodline is probably my favorite
Yeah, it's in there
new
for me.
Star Wars book when it came out. I finished the what's the Empire's End trilogy?
Oh, the
I need
Aftermath trilogy.
Aftermath. Yeah, I need to finish book two and do three. Then I'm listening to like Kanan and all those. Got Tarkin, Lords of the Sith. Like I listen to all those. I
Okay,
still
yeah.
listen, I still listen to the old EU stuff. Like
That
on my phone, I have the radio dramas on my phone of the
oh,
original trilogy. You which you would really like, I think. And I have Labyrinth of Evil, the book that leads into the Revenge of the Sith. So I'm listening
I've
to that on my phone right now.
I've heard a lot about that. So actually, let's go back a little bit further. You mentioned Legends. Now, we had that big wipe of Legends canon, and that's why it's called Legends now. The
Yeah,
expanding universe that started in, I guess, 1991 with the Thrawn trilogy.
right.
Lucasfilm basically was taken over by Disney, sold to sold, and they said they wanted to redo it. And I don't blame them really, because if you're trying to tell like new stories in the sequel trilogy, the creators obviously don't want to be handcuffed to falling in
Absolutely.
line with a million little stories here and there. So if you can't have a couple, it's not fair to the other creators that didn't have their stories. But so it's like, okay, wipe one out, you got to wipe them all out. So
Mhm.
what were your reactions to them just wiping out the EU?
I was honestly, I actually was okay with it because of this one phrase they made. They said, we're going to wipe it out. It's going to be Legends. We're going to cherry pick a lot from it, though. I remember them making that very clear. So I'm thinking, and they said they were going to retcon some stuff to make it fit the new Star Wars. So I was like, okay, I'm thinking take the best of the Legends, retcon it, and just make it into a film or a comic book or a movie, whatever. Um, I was okay with it initially. Now, as we progress, I am fine with a lot of the new canon. I like a lot of the books. With you, I know you do your comic book reviews every week. I like most of the comics. I actually have a stack of the Darth Vader ones to my
Nice.
to my left over here, over the Star Wars ones. Love those. But my issue now is when it comes to like the films and how they don't cherry pick from the best of the books into the films. That's when I have an issue. Like I remember Kathleen Kennedy saying about a year or two ago, she's like, we're not like Marvel or DC, where we have all the like treasure trove of like, comic books and year long history. I'm like, that's not true. Like we have all the EU. Like you can take the best. Some of those, everyone loves the Thrawn trilogy.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
You could adapt that into a trilogy of films and just tweak some of the stuff. I'm sure Timothy Zahn be fine with it. Hell, he probably helped you write the scripts. Plagueis. Everybody loves Darth Plagueis, that book.
Oh yeah.
All you got to do is retweak it a little bit, make it into a film. We all
Mhm.
want that. I mean, it's there. Even Legacy of the Force series, which is one of my
Okay.
favorite with Jason and Jaina Solo,
Okay.
and I believe Ben Skywalker is in that film, yeah, or in that book series. That whole saga of books, you can adapt that, just tweak it and make it work for your new canon. And even the Yu Zhang Vong series, people always talk about them.
Oh
Like
yeah.
you could take those books and make them fit your narrative. Like it's there. Again, and I know a lot of people probably didn't read all those books, but that's what's exciting about them. You and I know the books, but I'm sure there'll be new things in those films they could adapt it. That's where I have an issue with the new Star Wars and Disney. It's like, guys, you have the material there.
Yep. Yep.
Utilize it. It's there.
Yeah.
It's already the playbook's there. Just make it yours.
They're getting there. They're getting there. I keep up with this stuff, and I think there's a great quote from Ahsoka in Star Wars Rebels. There's truth to
Yeah.
legends, right? And they're bringing,
Yes.
and that show is a testament to that. They brought in legendary Thrawn, so there you go.
Yes.
It's not like the characters are wiped out. They're bringing in characters.
Amen.
There's the Thrawn books that I've been doing a lot. They've been building up with like this stuff with the Griscalians and stuff like that, which I think could lead to the Yuzong Vong eventually. There could be a connection there. Eventually they'll probably bring in Dash Rendar. I've heard a mention of Dash
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So there's lots of potential. I know it's a little bit frustrating. It's like we're like 6 years after they declared this, and there's just a little bit of stuff in there. I
Yeah.
think it's safe to say we'll probably never get a Mara Jade because the way Luke Skywalker is in Last Jedi, but you could have a
Right.
similar character that's
Yeah.
kind of like her or something.
Well, we may get a similar character like her in the Mandalorian for all we know.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, again, like that. Again, that's new canon that I think is amazing. Again, that's amazing storytelling. So with season one, I know season two is going to be great. I mean, I believe in John Favreau. You know, you have Giancarlo Esposito playing great with it, Moff Gideon.
Oh
He's
yeah.
going. We know with the dark saber. Come on, man. We all know it's going to be good.
Yeah, yeah. So you led perfectly into a segue that I'm definitely addressing. Is The Mandalorian the first ever live action Star Wars series? It blew everybody's minds when they seen this thing. It did mine, and it brought so many other people into the Star Wars bubble than I ever expected. Thanks to one little baby Yoda. So this
Yeah.
series just completely surprised everybody. I mean, I was hoping it would be that dark gritty thing, and it definitely is that dark gritty thing. But I just didn't expect to have this lovable character that really helps move the story along and gives us an
Yeah.
unexpected. But it's been done before in cinema, right? You got like the grizzled war veteran guy that's like leading the like kid or
Right.
something around. Like it's been done before, but to see it in
Yeah.
Star Wars, see it done on a TV series that is of that caliber, to cinematography, to the props, to the acting, to the sound, like everything about it. Obviously, it's we know it got nominated for 15 Emmy awards.
Yes.
They were
Yeah.
doing something right with this series.
Right. And you know what though? Very even though the series was very grounded, it was so different. It was so different. Like it was grounded, yet felt like Star Wars was so different at the same time. And you mentioned about how the Baby Yoda was like the big tie-in. I mean, that to see a man who's badass and no one can touch him have his heart be melted by a little Yoda type species, and everybody loves him, you know, and that's how they got the audience to connect with that show, with that relationship. Look at another film. Did you ever see Leon the Professional with young Natalie Portman?
No, I didn't.
She plays like a girl. She's a little girl in the film. It came out like 94, 95, I want to say. She sees her family gets murdered, and this like hitman who's her neighbor like takes her in and teaches her how to be like a bounty hunter, pretty much.
Huh.
And like that relationship from this little teenage girl to an adult, to me, that's very similar with how they did the Mandalorian, except for Baby Yoda isn't shooting anybody, but he's using the Force to help assist the Mandalorian when he needs it. So just to see that similarity in storytelling, I'm not surprised that worked, because that film worked, and that's a great film that people have seen over generations, and that's been out for what 25 years, I want to say. So yeah,
Ah.
it's go back and watch that film. You'll see the similarities with the Mandalorian and how that professional hitman treats Natalie Portman's character when she's a teenager
Huh.
with Yoda. Yeah,
That's a really cool thing to bring up. Another one we can't deny either is the fact that these characters are brand new. They've never been experienced in a Star Wars movie or any other TV series, at least for season one. So I think that is just such a nice thing for people to get into. They don't have to have any prior knowledge of even the timeline. Like I've had friends actually ask me like, where is this in the timeline? But that's not really that important because like you're dealing with such a far away place that like in the plot that just doesn't really have to rely on anything else that you have to watch beforehand. Well,
right.
maybe at the end there with the dark saber, but other than that, up until that point, it was like everything was new for me just as much as it was new for like my parents that watched the show.
Yep. Yeah. Again, it's one of those shows where I believe my father hasn't watched it yet, but I think once he watch it, I think he would like it because of the way the Mandalorian looks. It looks like a character he knows with Boba Fett. So I think that would get him intrigued. And I think that's a good balance of how Star Wars, when it comes to the Mandalorian, has grabbed a new audience. It's like, you know what? You don't have to be an ultra fan to get into this show. And when you have people watch that show who know somewhat of Star Wars, say, okay, this isn't a bad show to watch. It's really good storytelling. And it's only 30 minutes, the most for some episodes.
Oh
So,
yeah.
like, it's a quick watch. It's not like you got to binge it and watch a whole hour worth of stuff, you know? I mean, again, John Favreau and Disney, when it comes to that property, they have a hit on their hands, clearly, with the praise it's got critically and with what's coming up with season 2 that we still need to see. But yeah, so
Yeah, and just jumping off of that Disney Plus platform, we got another series. This is the most recent thing that came out. Is, you mentioned this before, the conclusion to the fan favorite show, The Clone Wars. We got the
yeah,
season 7, 3 arcs with the Bad Batch, with the Ahsoka on the Run, and with, of course, the Siege of Mandalore, which fans have been clamoring for ever since he revealed that back at the Celebration panel a couple years ago.
yes,
This is something people have wanted to see for so long. Just a conclusion. They never thought they would get a conclusion to this show. At the
no,
time that it ended, I wasn't really involved with the fandom a whole lot. So I can't like feel that kind of emotional resonance as some of the other fans that have been waiting for something like this that they never know they would ever get. But still to see how far the animation has come, how great the storytelling is in an animated series like this is just it again, this one blew me away just the same.
yep, I agree. I mean, the first 4 episodes was a great setup to what the season 7 was going to be. The final season was going to be. The middle arc wasn't as delightful, but it was needed. I mean, I think you had to set up us fans. And again, I'm gonna say it to all Star Wars fans. Sometimes we gotta be patient. And I think how those 4 episodes got us prepared for where Ahsoka was then to where she ended that season. Because I believe that time jump, there's a time jump, I believe, from the middle 4 episodes to the last 4, I want to say. Because she looks significantly older
Yeah, 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 yeah.
in those last 4 episodes. So like there's some type of time jump, and I felt the way they ended that was those 4 episodes could have been a feature film, and I'd have been fine with it.
Oh,
Like
there was a petition going around by my buddy Ben Hart of Star Wars Underworld. He was pushing
yeah,
for that for a couple weeks there and had several thousand signatures. So
yeah.
definitely.
My brother and we said every time I said, Chris, you watch the episode. He'll be like, I'm gonna watch it later. He calls me up later. Milton, that was the greatest thing I've ever seen, man. I'm like, just watch the next one. Like we were just like just seeing how the story tied in perfectly to Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god! And you now see the edits on YouTube of
Yeah.
tying in the animated boardroom scene with Jedi's when they're meeting to the live
Yeah.
action part. It seems perfect to me. Like
I
again, Disney, y'all was on point those last 4 episodes.
yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like you
So
did no wrong to me with those last 4 episodes. I felt like I was in 2005 watching Revenge of the Sith and perking up and like, oh my god, this is what I've been wanting. Like
you
that was awesome. Like it was amazing.
you get the huge battle with the clones. You see Anakin and
Yes.
Obi-Wan fighting as heroes for like the last time, well, before
Yep.
Revenge of the Sith. So that was like really cool. You see an awesome battle of Mandalorians versus Mauldalorians. You see Darth Maul
Absolutely.
with Ray Park using actual motion capture against
Yeah, they
another
tied it to
live
mocap.
action. That was so cool to see him come back, even in animated form. To like do that again was something that was groundbreaking alone, even for the series.
Absolutely. Again, I felt it was well done. I mean, everything that Dave Filoni in it. Let's give him some credit here.
Yeah.
Dave Filoni, the guy who is the apprentice of George Lucas, who's now the master, okay, he knows Star Wars. He knows storytelling in that realm. So I know, I'm sure you heard this, Chris, maybe. I know people want him to take over Disney, or excuse me, Lucasfilm, and be that head creator, the head producer, or whatnot of the stories. Because, like, he knows the balance. He learned from the maker himself. And I loved how that last episode was all about Ahsoka
Yeah.
because, or Ahsoka and Rex, because that needs to be that way. We already know Anakin and Obi-Wan's conclusion at the end of that trilogy. We needed to see what's going to happen with those two characters that we all now are in love with, and we know who they are, and they connect with all of us. So we need to see what's happened to them and how they tie it in, and it was excellent. And how they
Yeah.
showed Vader in the snow picking up the saber,
Oof.
beautiful. I'm getting goosebumps now talking about it. Like I need that was well done.
That is the thing, right? Like Ahsoka is arguably the main character of the Clone Wars for
Absolutely,
sure. So it makes sense, like you said, to have that last episode just all about her surviving Order 66, being scrappy, being very intelligent with what is going to happen and how it all ends. And it just leaves enough to like infer what could happen after that. I know there's a
Yeah,
novel, an Ahsoka novel. Some of that has been kind of retconned since the Siege of Mandalore arc, which is fine. Um, but yeah, I mean that it's one way to go out, spectacle, and again, it's just another hit for Disney Plus and with Disney. And
yeah,
after all that, after over an hour talking, we finally come up to the current state of
yeah.
Star Wars. We've ran you guys all the way through our feelings on pretty much everything in Star Wars.
Sorry, guys. Listen, we're just having fun here, man.
Yeah,
Like,
this
this
is
is
what
real talk.
happens.
These are friends really talking. So yeah,
This is a conversation that I would have with Milton on the street or something. And that's
yeah,
we're just happening to film it for you guys. But
right.
so just with everything we said right now, what's like your current level of like what do you think of Star Wars right now? Just your thoughts on everything that we've talked about
Right.
currently right now. How are you feeling about Disney's handling of Star Wars, of Lucasfilm, all that?
It's been a very up and down relationship. You know, it's like when you first date a girl. It's awesome at first honeymoon period. So initially in 2012 honeymoon, then you start going through the bumps and turns in the relationship, midway of Last Jedi and that type of stuff. Then with Rise of Skywalker, you see it slowly getting better. Mandalorian, it slowly gets better. The final season of Clone Wars, it slowly gets like it's okay. We're back where we used to be. Um, I do see promising things coming with Star Wars. I feel like Kathleen Kennedy, Bob Iger, and Dave Filoni, even John Favreau now, if those four can take the what they've ended so far with or built and created so far and push it forward and listen to the fans. Not saying give us what we want all the time because we're not in charge, but at least try to take our opinion somewhat because we are the ones that are giving praise to this. We are the ones promoting this. Like we're promoting Star Wars now on your channel.
Yep.
You know, we're not getting paid for this, so we love this stuff, and we want it just to be good. We want us to feel good about it. We want to feel like kids again, and we want to continue this brand until the day we die. So just respect that. If you can take solid ideas and make them great, and at least try to understand your audience and listen to your audience, you should have no problem. Again, I'm not saying that give the fans what we want because sometimes we don't need certain things, but I think you have to listen to your audience sometimes and respect that we just care. That's the biggest thing right
Hmm.
now. And my sense of Star Wars in the future, I think, is going to be fine. It's always going to survive. We just need to take it back to the basics a little bit and just really give us what we want. We all want, I believe, some type of Old Republic. You know, that'd be
Oh yeah.
awesome.
Hell yeah.
I mean, so it's stuff like that we've been clamoring for. So, I mean, Chris, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I've been having a ball with all this because obviously I started up my channel back in 2015, like building up to the hype of the Force Awakens.
Yeah,
So from that point on, I have a very different view than I had, let's say, as a fan back in 2015 or 2005 with Revenge of the Sith. Like I'm way more into fandom now. I'm like
yeah,
in the bubble. Like I've been to Star Wars Celebration, which is like one of the funnest times of my life. Honestly, that weekend was incredible. So like I'm more involved than I've ever been with Star Wars right now.
yeah,
I've been covering like the comics, the books, which is a great way to keep me engaged with
right,
everything going on in between the movies, in between series ending and starting. It's an awesome thing for Lucasfilm for the publishing to be putting consistent content out. Yeah, granted, not every comic book or every book really resonates me or is really even targeted for me, but I try to enjoy what I can out of those. The movies have been really good. I've had some problems with The Last
mhm,
Jedi. I've had some problems with The Rise of Skywalker, but The Force Awakens, Rogue One, and Solo were right up my alley. I was just so
right,
hyped seeing them in the theater, being in a theater, having that experience, and well, with COVID and all that, it's kind of sucks to see what's
absolutely,
going to happen. But being in a theater full of fans on opening night is just some of the most fun I've ever had. Just
absolutely,
it sounds stupid for anybody outside of Star Wars, but just like
mhm,
being in that energy filled room and just like enjoying
yeah,
the crawl and seeing all the big moments happen with all these
right,
other fans. It's a lot of fun.
yeah,
There's this huge echo chamber that we're involved in with the fandom being able to have this kind of technology, right? With social media at our fingertips, it could be the worst thing. It could also be the best thing at times when you have
right,
somebody you could talk to. But so overall, I like where it's going. And yeah, I mean, I speak very highly of it. there's always bumps in the road, like you said.
Absolutely.
But the thing is, most of the content has been good, and
Yeah, I agree. I agree
yeah.
100%.
So
I agree.
that
It's to me, I feel like my day throughout the day, it's always something on my mind of Star Wars. At my office, I have a Luke Skywalker and a Ahsoka action figure in the box
oh,
at my
nice.
office, and I have a picture frame that my friend's dad got me. Became a certified Jedi Knight in like 2010.
What?
I forget where he ordered it from, but that's framed in my office. But like Star Wars is my life. It's part of my life, you know.
Yeah.
I talk to my brother and my dad about it all the time, like my friends. Like that's why I love this property. I think that's why we all love it because it's not just a property to us. It's a way of life, but it's so many good stories you get out of it. So many things about life you can learn from Star Wars. So I feel good that Disney is the right place it needs to be. I think it'll be fine because Disney will get it. Disney will get it consistent again, where there pretty much aren't no hiccups. Of course, it will be, but they'll get it right to where that we're all satisfied as a fandom. And I hope as fans we can come together and we can be critical of the information and what we get, but let's do it in a way that's respectful and that we're using our words and we're actually giving some type of critical, rational opinion when it comes to the Star Wars, not just be negative about it,
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is so true about how we're just got to treat each other with respect, right? That's like
absolutely,
the number one thing. You go
absolutely,
online, you see all the hate and stuff, and it's been unfortunate with some of the celebrities being like almost forced off social media with being
yeah,
harassed. Like that is just messed up. Like, come on,
yeah,
people, what the hell
that's
are you doing?
ridiculous.
Um, but like you said, Star Wars is just so special. It's just hard for us not to be passionate about it and to care about it enough to have stuff like little action figures in our offices and
Yeah.
plaques that explain that we're just some mythical figure, right? Like that is just like crazy when you think about it, but everybody's like everybody has a passion for something in life, and it's really cool just to have a passion for something like Star Wars because it transcends entertainment, like you said. It's a mythology. It's a modern mythology. It teaches
Absolutely.
people growing up lessons, and Disney has to understand that George Lucas had always positioned Star Wars to be for the kids that are like right before adolescence, right? Like they're going to be getting taught these life-changing lessons that are going to
Yes,
shape their their maturity. So you got to respect that. But it's also
I
great
agree.
for us to like live like kids in that moment while we're watching an episode. We're just letting it, flow through us, those emotions, not letting anything go, right? We're just going right for it, feeling nostalgia, right? You got to treat that nostalgia with
Absolutely.
some
No,
good
absolutely.
balance. Good balance is
I
the
no,
key.
I agree 100%, man. You really there's no that's not a wrong answer, because you're absolutely right. And I think that if people want to really understand Star Wars, what they need to do is go on YouTube, type in
Yep.
Star Wars: The Legacy Revealed. That's a great documentary that talks about the mythology of Star Wars. I mean, they get people from the History Channel, professors,
Whoa.
different ideologists. Yeah, Kevin Smith's in the documentary, some film critics. I think some of the actors are in the documentary as well. They talk about the mythology of it. Also, look at Empire of Dreams. I believe that documentary is on Disney Plus.
I
The Empire
watched it.
of
It's an
Dreams.
excellent
Yeah,
documentary. Yeah.
that's a great documentary. I mean, again, any type of behind the scenes documentary about the films or at least about the mythology of it, you need to watch that. Then you'll understand why fans like Chris and I love this property so much. So
Yeah. So getting actually into the meat of it, I named this episode "The Current State of Star Wars." So damn right we're going to be talking at least a little bit about that.
right,
So, getting into it right now, we came off of a very exciting, not really, earnings report that many people were expecting this week to give us some kind of information. Oh, are we going to get some kind of confirmation of new series? Well, we didn't get that necessarily, but we did get was a good idea of like where Disney is feeling comfortable with their properties right now in light of the current state of things throughout the world, the ongoing pandemic. It seems like Disney got on board with this Disney Plus service just in time because while people might not feel comfortable go to the movies, Disney's feeling really confident in Disney Plus right now. They reported that they have a huge exponential growth just in the 8 months alone it's been around. It's got like 60.5 million subscribers, and
Yeah.
that's something they expected to do in I think like 5 years. And they did it in
Right.
8 months. So obviously they're putting a lot of their chips into Disney Plus right now. Right now we have 5 confirmed series that are going to be coming out at some point. Obviously, we have the Mandalorian. We just had announced the Bad Batch, a spinoff of the Clone Wars. We got Obi-Wan series. We got the Cassie and Endor series, and we got the one series from the creator of Russian Doll. So there you go, 5 series. Not to mention all these other rumored things like Lando series and maybe
Yeah.
a Solo 2, and so much other stuff that like even a Rebels spiritual successor series. It's obvious that Lucasfilm is really going hard in on Disney Plus. So, what are your thoughts on all that?
Um, I'm glad that they have projects in the works and development. I think that's good that they have a plan. I think people questioned that plan in the past, but I'm glad to see that they're progressing that agenda of Disney Plus because that's their moneymaker, and it's nice to have it all on one platform for Star Wars. What I'm excited about, I would probably say this might be a surprising answer. Cassie and Endor. I mean, don't get me wrong, Obi-Wan's up there. I'll get to that in a second. But Cassie and Endor, because he's one of those characters that we still don't know a lot about, unless you read the book of Catalyst or I believe Rogue One novel.
Yep.
But you still don't know a lot about him, and his character was very interesting in Rogue One. So I would love to see where they're going to take that series. That's awesome. Obi-Wan, let's be real here. Ewan McGregor's back. So, of
Yeah.
course, we're all hyped up to see what's he like in the desert because everyone wants to know what happened to Obi-Wan in those 20-year span of being in the desert. So, did he go off to fight Vader again? Did he go off and do some side missions? Because that's a possibility. We just don't know. That's a story that we need to know. So,
Yeah.
I'm excited
There's.
about all that. Those are my primary two series I'm really hyped about.
Yeah. I will echo you. Well, maybe not completely. I think I'm still most excited about the Mandalorian series just because of what I've seen
Yeah.
so far. But I can't deny that I'm really excited about Cassian too, because you have so much more potential for that awesome Rebel Empire story. Like,
Yeah.
we have a lot of content. I put it out on Twitter exactly like all the series and things that we have in between the so-called dark times in between A New Hope and Revenge of the Sith. There's so much content already in there,
Mhm.
but there's still so many stories to tell. It's a 20-year gap, which is one of the largest gaps in the Star Wars timeline in between like two large movies there. There's rumors now that Tarkin might even be involved, so we could get
Right.
a really fresh perspective on maybe some storylines from the Empire side of things. And the Empire, as at least portrayed in a lot of the books and the comics, there's lots of characters that are just trying to make a living, right? They think of the Empire as like their only option to um, be safe from a lot of these pirates and things that are out there in the galaxy, and they're afraid, so they join the Empire. So
Right. Right.
I think it's really a nice way for them to maybe give us some Imperial characters that we'll really love while building up the rebellion, because this is going to be like 5 years around the same time as Star Wars Rebels begins. So the rebellion is not a huge thing yet, but Mon Mothma, we got that acknowledgement. Mon Mothma is coming back, Genevieve
Yeah.
O'Reilly. So there's gonna be so many cool stories again with like spy, like with it's gonna be like a more of like a spy thriller. So that's not something we've really seen in Star Wars before, like to this degree, obviously. So
Yeah.
lots more planets to explore. I'm all about that.
No, again, and I love how there you notice how there's nothing to do with the Skywalkers in the sense of like there's no and again and that's fine because we need to continue to expand it. As much as I
hmm
love the Skywalker family, it's okay to expand that. That's where I'm okay with it. And I'm cool with seeing what Obi-Wan's all about and Ken and Cassian and the Mandalorian and the other like seriously, I want to see that because that's going to enrich the property. That makes it last longer. So
Yeah, and great point, because I probably would have almost forgotten to talk about this. What I'm really excited about with Star Wars now, we talked about this a few minutes ago, is just the fact that the Skywalker saga's over. It's not like, oh my God, I hated it or anything.
yeah,
I'm just ready to see that era over with and to see rich storytelling told by creators that have more free reign to tell stories. When you're
right.
telling a story about the Skywalker saga, you have a little bit of a tight like rope to walk in a sense because you have to abide by these characters. You can't stray too far away, which a lot of people would argue that they had done in sequel trilogy. But I'm just relieved to get people like Taika Waititi telling his own
Like,
movie or his own series of movies. I'm excited to see what Ryan Johnson would actually do with his own series of movies when he's not tying his
handcuffed.
fate of characters, right? If he's creating his own original characters, I think that's super exciting. So talking just from the film point of view of currently now with no films, but like, what are your thoughts on that with the films being done now with Skywalker Saga?
I totally agree. Again, because you're right. That's giving now these great storytellers coming out of the woodwork and creating things that are original, yet feel similar at the same time, but also very different. I mean, again, Taika Waititi, he's on a high right now. Everybody loves what he's doing, and everyone still loves Ryan Johnson. I haven't seen Knives Out yet, but I
Me
heard
neither.
good things about that film. And it's like we know he's a great storyteller. You know what? He's best when he don't have to worry about being restricted. And I think if he came back and did a trilogy of films or at least a show, we would all be like, you know what, Ryan, we forgive you. I guarantee you, because he'll tell a really good,
Uh huh.
solid story if he can able to have that free reign of new original thoughts, themes, and characters.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So there you go. There you go. That's this is what I'm looking forward to. So
yeah.
besides that, um, we'd even touch upon this actually. How are you a gamer at all? Have you played any of the games that have come out in the last couple of years, like Battlefront or
um,
Jedi Fallen Order, or at least maybe watch
I
stuff online on YouTube?
played. I played the mobile game. The battle, the Star Wars Heroes one.
Galaxy of
I played,
Heroes.
yeah, Galaxy
I
Heroes. Yeah,
played that for a bit. Yeah,
I play it all the time. Like I've been playing it for like
nice.
years now. It's been crazy. I do like that game. And then like, usually I wake up every morning starting that game out playing it. It's crazy. But the Battlefront games, I've been iffy about them. The first one I didn't like. The second one was better, but I only had it for like a couple months and I traded it in. I didn't get the Fallen Order yet. I know I need to get it. I heard
Ooh.
that game's actually really, really good.
Uh
I just need to
huh.
get it and put my time in. But again, Chris, I'm old school, man. I still love the Force Unleashed. I
Yeah.
still love Rogue One or Battlefront, Rogue Squadron, the Nintendo 64.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Still play a lot of the old games when I get a chance.
Oh
So yeah,
yeah.
all the old games I love. The new ones, I've always felt this has probably been the weakest part of the new acquisition when
Yeah.
Disney took over. It's been the video game department. It's been the weakest because EA now runs it, right? I
Mm-hmm.
believe,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, I kind of miss LucasArts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
LucasArts should have stayed because they
Not gonna
made,
lie.
yeah, LucasArts was amazing,
Like
and
they were putting
EA
out
got
3 games a year at one point, I think. Like it was so good.
ranking them. I mean, listen, all the Battlefronts back when LucasArts had them was awesome. The Force Unleashed games, the first one was amazing. Second one has its hiccups.
Oh yeah, the second
Yeah,
one not so
yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah. It was still decent. I still have it. I still play it, but the first one by far.
Oh yeah.
Even Rogue Squadron, man. Oh,
Oh my god, don't
I
get me
actually
started
have
on that.
Shadows of Empire. I believe that's the.
Oh,
I have it on 64 upstairs. Yeah.
I can
So I mean,
talk
I'm
your ear
saying
off
like,
about Shadows of the Empire. It's one of my favorite Star Wars anything. I'm
yeah,
still
right.
I'm still like bring Dash Rendar to the cannon. Come on.
Thank you. So it's like the video game department's been weak. No one can argue that. Bring back Disney if you're watching. Bring back LucasArts. Stop playing.
Well, let's see. The EA contract is up in like a year or two, so we'll
Let's
see. It was like a 10-year deal.
resurrect that department. We're all gonna be happy.
Well, here's the thing. There is a new video game on the horizon. October 2nd, this might interest you because they're going to be Star Wars Squadrons. Have you seen anything about that? It's the
I've
fighter
heard of
sim
that one.
game.
Yeah, I heard
It's
of that one.
okay, so it's more like X-Wing if you are familiar. That's like
Yeah.
before my time. I never got involved, but it's like the first person cockpit view. That's how this game is.
Okay.
So,
Well,
it's
it's
not
kind of like the
yeah.
arcade one though. I don't. If you see, remember the arcade one, the Star Wars arcade, where
It's the
you
one
played in 3 levels. It was you play on
yeah.
Endor,
Yeah.
Hoth, or the space battle, and New
Yeah.
Hope.
Oh yeah.
Kind of
It'll
like
be
that.
like that, but you actually can actually physically fly and you're not on
Yeah.
rails. So
Right. Right. Right.
that'll be out in October, and you'll be seeing plenty of content on this channel
Nice.
from me playing it. So you
Doing
can at
some
least
live
check it
streams
out.
playing.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, man. So yeah, I think video games are on an upswing.
Yeah.
The problem is with EA, they axed a lot of the games in development, right? They had the one game that was going to be called like not Underdog, but something a code name. But it was made by the people at the Dead Space. The one lady was in charge of Uncharted. It was
Was
like
that the
this.
1313?
No, but that was Lucasfilm canceled that one.
That
That was
was
before
yeah. That's
Disney.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that would
Yeah.
have been awesome too.
Yeah.
But this other game, people in the comments will probably talk about it. But it's one game where they gave us the whole story after they canceled it. It was supposed to be about a survivor of Alderaan, and he was
Right.
like a smuggler, and it was going to be like an Uncharted Star Wars game with
Oh, that sounds
guns.
pretty cool.
So yeah, that would have
That's
been really cool. Then they canceled another game. So I think that's the big thing is people like the game's getting canceled. The Battlefront having the microtransaction situation that
yeah.
pissed off a lot of people. They got a
Right.
lot of bad buzz off the get go, and there just haven't been as many frequent Star Wars releases up until like the last year. It's not been too bad. I mean, like we had Battlefront. There wasn't anything for 2 years, and Fallen Order came out. Now we're getting this other Star Wars Squadron game coming out this year, and we're supposedly supposed to be getting a new Star Wars Lego game, but I haven't heard about
I
anything
played
since.
those. Yeah,
They're
my
really
nieces had
fun.
those. I really like those a lot. They're kind of cute
Yeah,
games.
yeah.
Speaking of, actually, you know what though? This just triggered my mind. Do you remember the Christian Harloff podcast, Far Far Away, back in the day? He
Never
did it
actually
with
listened to that one.
Tiffany Smith. He had Sam Witwer on there the one episode, and I'm gonna tie
Really?
this into Force Unleashed. He talks about what the plot of the Force Unleashed 3 was going to be.
Really?
Yes. And I still have that archived somewhere on my computer, that episode, because of that particular segment. He talks about how, remember at the end of the second game, they trap Darth Vader and Boba Fett is
Yeah.
following them. He said that they were going to have like a tribunal, like court. Game's going to pick up to where they're going to put Vader on trial. But that
Oh,
was Vader's plan the whole time, to get them all together again. And he wrecks them to start the game out. And like it just goes into multiple directions. I'm thinking, oh my God, could you imagine if we got that game of where Vader in that thing like this, and he's watching him like stoically, and all of a sudden Boba Fett breaks him out, and he's wrecking the rebels. It's like, oh, and
oh
that's how the
my
game starts.
gosh.
I'll have to find that archive and send it to you sometimes. It's a good interview. He talks about where potentially would have went.
That's what I remember about Force Unleashed 2 was just the view of the Slave One flying away, and I'm like,
Yeah,
you're gonna end the game like that? Come
I'm like,
on.
Vader's captured. Like now what? You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So the gaming, yeah, like we said, started off very weak, but I think it's getting there. I didn't even talk about the VR experiences yet, like what they've done with Vader Immortal on the Oculus Quest, which I bought just to play this game. Oh man, that's such cool technology. They have Tales from Galaxy's Edge coming out, which is going to be like a bunch of short stories that you play as like this character, and he's telling you stories, and you go back in time or back or you whatever to represent the
right?
stories he's telling. So I think that's going to be really big for VR. So at least in that space, like Lucasfilm is really like pushing the boundaries with tech, like
Yes,
ILM always has done. It's from ILM X Labs. They always push tech. So at least from that standpoint, with Star Wars Squadrons, it's going to be VR enabled as well. So that's going to be insane. So yeah, the future's really bright for those.
absolutely.
Yeah, for those games as well. But do you have any interest? I'm sure you've heard about it, in the High Republic, this whole new publishing branch that's going to be like 200 years before the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, I've heard about it. My brother and I talked about it plenty of
Okay.
times. I'm interested. Yeah, I mean, if it's something that's going to engage me, and it makes me feel like, you know what, this is before the Skywalkers and before the Phantom Menace, and we get some of that like, what I think people are talking about it as Game of Thrones type a little bit maybe to it, or feel maybe
Yeah.
like that like elegant time in Star Wars or the universe. I'd be fine with it because it's something new. It's different, and as long as they make it good and it keeps my interest, I'm fine with whatever they put out there. So I'm interested. So bring it on.
Yeah, I'm interested for them to just build up the lore even more. This is not
Yes.
even an era that's been explained in Star Wars Legends. It's not like they're redoing the Old Republic. They are going in a brand new era of time, which is hopefully not going to conflict with anything. just
right?
like I said before, like the creators having like their own vision, not being
Yeah,
handcuffed. Again, what's going to happen with the writers of the comics and the books. Remember, this is all going to be comics and books. They're saying right now there's going to be no movies, no series. This kind of reminds me of like the heyday of the expanded universe, right? You had
yeah,
that dark time where there was no movies, no TV series.
right.
People lived off of the books and the comics because that was the only thing being produced. Granted, we're going to get series still, but looking ahead, like we have no movies until 2023. So
Yeah,
Star Wars is surviving on all the ancillary material, the stuff that didn't actually make it like the big hit it was, which was the movies. So I find that really interesting in current Star Wars right now about how we're taking the movies are taking a backseat, for everything else to kind of take the center stage here.
yeah, oh yeah, I agree. And I think another thing too is because you referenced before the Star Wars celebrations, man. I mean, I think we'll at least get one or two more before the next movie comes out. I'm assuming. So you'll still have that opportunity of fans to come together and celebrate it more and build the hype up again and be more products coming out. So Star Wars is right now is in a healthy, recovering place to where people will take a step back, start appreciating it again, and the hype will build. And I'm totally fine with where they're going with it right now. Like in this conversation we've had today, like we've talked about all the future possibilities of where Star Wars can be, and it sounds really, really good. I have to trust that they're really good at what they're doing, and they're gonna keep us in the right direction.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And talking about that, let's talk about the driving forces behind what's happening with Star Wars, right? You got people like Dave Filoni, you got people like John Favreau, all these creators. Taika Waititi is going to be a big one. Kathleen Kennedy is still the president of Lucasfilm. So, what do you think about the leadership? Do you have a lot of confidence in what they're going to do to tell the stories or keep continuing on these great stories they've told so far?
I mean, I feel good now. I feel confident now. I think early on, yes, I felt confident in Kathleen because of her track record of being a producer and getting the right people to tell stories. I know at one point I was very unsure about it because of Bob Iger was going to retire and step away at one point. Then you hear about the inner conflicts within the directors being fired and the all that stuff wasn't sitting well with me because like it sounds like there's no plan, there's no true leadership.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Kathleen has taken a step back, and all credit to her. She really had to reevaluate where Star Wars is going to go, and I have to give her credit. She's done a good job at getting us back on that ship. I love everything Jon Favreau has done with whether it's with the Marvel properties he's been a part of, and currently with Star Wars. I love Dave Filoni. He can do no wrong. Dave Filoni can do no wrong. Taika Waititi, we've seen his stories. We know he can do. And even we forgot about this great storyteller, Deborah Chow.
Oh
It's,
yeah.
yeah, she's one of those ones that I think people need to look out for because that woman can tell stories. And if you don't know who that is, go look her up because she's one of those brainchilds in Star Wars where we need to get her out more often when it comes to telling stories. And even Dallas Bryce Howard, like her telling her story, like again, they
Yeah.
have amazing storytellers, and it's amazing. So I'm glad that they got those people in the chair to tell these stories.
Yeah, if you haven't watched the Disney Gallery Star Wars The
I
Mandalorian or
need to.
whatever the crazy
I
tale.
need to.
Oh, you didn't watch it? I thought that's why
Not
you might
yet.
have mentioned them. They're prominently
Yeah.
say things and they show them working, so you got to watch that. Anybody
Yeah,
out there to watch that?
I've seen Deborah Chow in interviews. That's why I was like, I knew who she was. And when I knew she directed one of the episodes, and I really I liked her episode a lot. And I was like, who is this lady? And I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, she's really,
She
really
did
good.
episode 3 and episode 7, I believe,
Yeah.
of season
So,
1.
yeah,
And
look
she's going
out
to
for
be
Deborah
in
Chow, though.
charge. She's going to be in charge of the Obi-Wan series. She's directing the whole thing.
Yes. That's why I was hyped because I'm like, oh my God, she's going to do it. Get it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, Star Wars is a big thing with the community. So we're gonna kind of start to wrap things up here. Just
That's fine.
talking about the fandom as a whole. Now, how actively are you involved with being like on Twitter, or are you involved with the Twitter, Facebook groups, or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm on. I believe you and I are on a Facebook group together with one of them. I forget what it's called, but I do check in, even though I'm not on Facebook all the time. I do check in with them. Twitter, I still see a lot of the stuff. I see like this guy Jody's Corner talks about Star Wars a lot. A whole bunch of other guys on Twitter. I see a lot of it's been negative though with the fandom
Yeah,
lately.
yeah, that's what I mean.
Just because like people this is the time they like to bash on everything, and that's their opinion, that's their right. And sometimes I get caught up in that. So I can't say I'm innocent from this. But I think the fandom, if they actually would take the time to do stuff like this face to face or live stream or whatnot and talk to each other, I think they get a better result about why people feel the way they feel about certain movies or properties of Star Wars. I think people are quick to get on a keyboard and say some off the wall stuff with no consequences instead of looking you in the eye and say, hey, this is how I feel about your opinion and vice versa. If we get to that point to where the fandom can appreciate each other again and respect each other, the fandom will be healthy because right now it isn't the healthiest. I mean, hell,
Mm.
even with Gina Carano, they're trying to cancel her out. Like,
Oh yeah, I
it's
seen
like,
that recently.
it's like fans, what are we doing? Like, that's just not helpful. Like,
Ah,
why are we doing that to a woman who clearly did nothing wrong? But I mean, I
it's
just tweeted a picture trying to make a point about, like life, and it's like she did nothing, and it's like you got the trolls who just wake up wanting to troll people, and that's wrong.
Yeah, I feel like all this happened with the Last Jedi.
And
I'm like
seriously, I think
trying
that's
to
what
trace
started.
back where all this madness started to come from, and I think
I
that's
think the
it.
Last Jedi really hurt people, and they were like, oh, because I was one of those fans. I was like, man, f that movie. I can't handle this, whatever. But I get it. I get why people were lashing out like that, and I'm hoping that as we mature, we can start appreciating film and appreciating each other again. And but we'll see what happens. But I think the fandom's going to get back to a good place again.
I think the coolest thing I've seen in a fandom recently is, oddly enough, behind the Clone Wars episodes and behind the Mandalorian. I
Yeah,
seen very little criticism when those
absolutely.
episodes were airing, and this is cool because I know you're probably there with me too. This is like the first time you're experiencing a lot of these like Star Wars series while everybody's seeing them as they come out. So now that Twitter and Facebook are a huge thing, social media, everybody's reacting at the same time. So you're getting that echo chamber of what exactly is the populace saying, and it's really neat to be a part of those nights when like the Mandalorian is out and had a killer episode. Like almost everybody agrees. Like I don't see anybody saying like this show is trash. Like get this out
No,
off this.
yeah,
Like it's like a unanimous. Like everybody loves the Clone Wars. Everybody loves the Mandalorian. And in
yeah,
those moments of time, it's so nice. And then you get like the Rise of Skywalker, and there's like, so much negativity around
yeah.
it. I'm
It's
like,
like,
oh, here we go again.
right. And that's where it's like, all right, guys, like Disney's trying, they're trying. So it's like, But no, you're right. I think having that universal love and that unity is amazing. That's what it needs to get back to. That's why I need to do a Star Wars celebration when I got to do one before my time's up at this earth because I want to be a part of that process. I want to see the fandom up close and personal and be like, you know what? I like Jar Jar Binks too. Like, what I'm saying?
And
Like, I
you'll
want to
want to
say,
see plenty of people around there like that.
yeah, I want to say, like, though I like Jar Jar, he's not that bad. Let's take a picture together. Like I want to enjoy that stuff. Like, so yeah,
2022.
hey, I'll try to make it work. I mean, listen, I got a mortgage payment now, so I got to be smart with my money.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
That's kind of important. Oh man, well, it's been such an awesome conversation, man. Our first like actual face to face
yeah.
conversation has been something that was just so fun, and
Oh,
I got to have you on
dude,
here again, man. It's been a lot of
absolutely. Be
good
my
times.
pleasure. Look, Chris, thank you so much. Again, to the fans out there that are watching Chris's channel consistently, this man puts in so much hard work. I am proud of the work that you've done with your channel, man. I from day one till now, just how crisp you are, how professional you do your job, how you conduct yourself as an interviewer and interviewee. Like it's amazing. And like I said, nothing but blessings to you, my brother. Like I really do
Oh
hope your
man.
channel continues to explode and get better and better.
Oh man, much appreciated. Like I said, this is just my hobby, my little fun thing.
Yeah.
If it looks like it's getting better, good. Hopefully I'm doing something after 5 years that's improving. So hey, it's
Nah,
just
dude,
it's
you
just
are.
what
You
it
are, buddy.
is. It's just what it is. But let's talk about you for a few minutes here. So
Got
so
you.
where can the people find you? Let's talk about your YouTube channel where we met on there. So let's talk about all that good stuff there.
Well, if you want to find me on YouTube, just type in at Milton Webber YouTube. It's still on there. I have a bunch of Star Wars videos on there that I talked about in the past. I've done some like breakdowns of some Clone War arcs, that type of thing. When it comes to finding me on Twitter, find me at Milton Webber 7 on Twitter. Again, it's just Milton Webber 7 on Twitter. Instagram, it's Milton, the number 7 Webber Kingslayer, or just type in Milton Webber. You'll see all that on Instagram. Usually I post on Instagram some sports stuff or some weightlifting stuff that I do. I like working out at the gym. On Instagram, I just retweet a lot of people when it comes to like sports, Star Wars, or pop culture. Yeah, man, if you find me on Facebook, it's Milton Webber at Facebook. I like to be positive on social media, so if you follow me, keep it positive.
Yeah, and once again, man, it was awesome to have your intelligence speaking about a lot of these rather, things that make people either or on a lot of these
Yeah,
topics, right? We talked about the big ones, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker. As somebody who doesn't like Last Jedi, you're able to give a perspective that has criticism while still honoring what the director did. I wish everybody was able to see things as you did out there. Great job
right.
with that, and just hearing your thoughts, man. It's been a good time, and it was nice to have you with your perspective on how everything goes. So
Yeah.
that is it for Outer Rim Transmission. This was episode 7 with Milton Webber. My name's Starrapter. If you want to follow more on the channel, it's very simple. You just subscribe and do hit that notification bell icon so that way you'll know when future videos go live. I not talk only just about Star Wars, but other things such as video games, I live stream, stuff like that. But it has been another great episode. You can check out all the other Outer Rim Transmission episodes through the playlist, and hopefully we'll have one again soon. That is going to do it for me, Starrapter. Thank you so much for watching, and for Milton Webber, that's going to do it for us here, and may the Force be with you always. Thanks for checking out the video. Please hit that thumbs up symbol. It helps me know that I'm making content that you guys enjoy. And if you enjoyed this video, I also include 2 videos down below you guys should check out. And please consider subscribing to this channel. It helps support me and it notifies you guys of when I get new videos up on the channel. You can also contact me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Starrapter.